Zoning Commissioner Seegers.
Here.
And also present is Planning and Zoning Manager Brad Hill, that's myself, and Courtney LeBron with the Town of Edgewood representing staff. At this point, we normally turn the meeting over to the chair. We do need we need to do a formal election of officers. So I will control the meeting until we do that formal process. We did an informal election. So if you would like, we can just make a motion to adopt the officers that were identified in the preliminary meeting. That way we don't have to go through that whole process again. So I think we can entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the previous discussion of the officers for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. So Commissioner Holloman, you will be the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you can remind me, and I know Cheryl Bedino, you are the secretary, and I believe Cheryl, you are the vice.
Diana,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Diana, you are the vice chair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So Commissioner Holloman, I'll turn the meeting over to you. If you would just go through the next item on the agenda, which is the public hearings. I will call the action item if you so choose.
Okay.
All right.
That'd be fine.
So the first item, and I want to go through the process a little bit so that the applicants and the public know what the process is and what we are doing tonight. This is being held as a quasi-judicial matter. This is an advisory board at this time. In this matter tonight, we will be hearing requests for zone change. I do need to advise you that a quasi-judicial process is a judicial process. We are acting as a court. We are acting under the rules and guidance of the New Mexico Court of Appeals. So there will be statements and testimony made. Statements should be factual. We are hearing evidence tonight. Opinions can be submitted, but opinions do not carry weight of evidence. They do in a civil matter such as this. We operate under what's called a preponderance of the evidence, which means that if one side slightly has a better case than the other side, then that side prevails. This is not beyond a reasonable doubt. As you may have heard in criminal cases, this is a civil matter, so it's just we try to balance the scales, and if one side is slightly more than the other side, then that side would prevail. We ask everybody to be respectful. There's a certain process that we will go through. Everybody will get an opportunity to not only provide testimony and give evidence, but if you are an affected party, you will also be allowed to cross-examine. The cross-examination should be based only upon what testimony has been given, right? So, having said that, we will begin with the first action item, which is a zone change recommendation to Town Council. This is the application of Fellow Laborers with Christ for a zone change of 3.018 acres from SU to C2, located at Tract 4A2, RA 3.0184 acres in Section 21, Township 10 North, Range 7 East, New Mexico, Prime Meridian in the town of Edgewood, Santa Fe County, New Mexico, also known as 9 Rocky Road. The applicant is here, so Mr. Sanchez, if you would please come to the table. Before we start, I'm going to ask anybody who wishes to testify in this manner to stand. If you would all please stand, you too, Mr. Sanchez. Anybody who wishes to speak on this matter needs to stand. And, yeah, you can. And you need to, yes.
I need to speak too.
Are you recusing yourself?
I'm speaking for myself, but I need to withdraw myself from voting
Okay.
on this particular
That's fine.
issue. And the reason is that we are in the real estate business.
I understand.
We recently submitted a lease to this party, okay? to lease this building. So
All right.
I think I need
You don't
not
need to
be
explain. You
voting.
can, yeah, you are recused, so that's fair. So the notary will swear the parties in. So if you will raise your right hand.
Do you swear to affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide for this hearing matter is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. So Mr. Sanchez, if you would present your case, please.
Okay, so Brandon Sanchez with Mountain Mountain Properties. I'm in the process of acquiring the subject property contingent on a zone change from SU to C2. Going through the ordinance, it states that SU zoning, the removal of zoning in the event that youth authorized by special use is permanently discontinued for a period of at least 90 days. The special use district may be canceled and removed under provision from an amendment to this ordinance, and shall be rezoned at an appropriate zone district determined by the town governing party. So it was my understanding after my acquisition, 90 days, it would have to go through a zone change. So we're trying to get ahead of the game with this. And with the prior zone manager, it was his understanding that this property was C2 prior to the SU zone. So it seemed to make the most sense that this property go back to C2, being that the property directly north of it is also C2.
Okay. Are there any questions from the commission?
No questions.
So, just to understand, and I do need to indicate to the commission and to the public that this property has been properly posted. It was properly noticed to all parties that have identified property by the Santa Fe County Treasurer within a 300-foot of boundary. A sign was posted on the property. This is the picture of the sign that was posted. What was a little bit awkward about this property is that it is not directly on a public road. Well, it's on a public road, but it's not on a public road that generally receives traffic. It's almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you access it through a church parking lot, which has a road designated as part of that parking lot. So just so you understand how this property lays. It is appropriate if you want to ask what type of use is going to be intended for the property. C2 zoning has a lot of potential uses. Let me go to C2. So what is permissive under commercial business zone? It's all permissive uses in R1 and R3, which means it can be used for residential and certain types of residential properties. It can be a retail or commercial establishment, a general professional office, a business and personal services, banking and financial services, a model home center of not more than 4 units, restaurants, small engine repair, child care centers, hotels, motels, bars, lounges, package sales, motor vehicle sales, a veterinary hospital, animal grooming parlors, small scale processing associated with commercial business establishment, as long as those activities are within the building, assembly, light industry, and sexually oriented businesses. Conditional uses, there's a number of conditional uses. So it may be appropriate, if it's up to the commission whether you want to get that clarification from the applicant. That's perfectly appropriate. If not, that's perfectly appropriate as well. So,
what will the property be used for?
Generally office space. We have had an inquiry for a daycare, and we've had inquiry from a barber shop.
Who gets to ask questions?
I will direct you.
Okay.
You'll get an opportunity.
Oh, I just didn't
Sure,
know how
yeah,
it worked.
Yeah. So, any other questions from the commission? and this isn't your last opportunity. I want you to, these commissioners are new, and so we're kind of guiding them through the process, just so everybody understands. Mr. Seegers has been a commissioner before, so he has some experience with the process, but he's recused himself from this matter. So you will be able to cross-examine both this applicant and any affected party that wishes to speak. They can be cross-examined as well. And if you have additional questions towards the at any time through the process, we can get clarified. We can ask clarifying questions. Did you have anything else that you want to offer?
Well, so I mean, the intended use will be very similar to what's right next door at the old Independent Building, office suites. You know, we're not going to do any major reconstructing of the building. It's all going to stay the way it is. Essentially, the classrooms will be converted to suites.
So I do have some questions. Are you aware of any deed restrictions or covenants that would prevent any types of businesses from being located at that site?
Not that I'm aware of, other than you know, on the state level, alcohol, cannabis, sexual activity, any of that would be excluded, being to the proximity from a school.
Correct. I was going to point that out.
Right.
So those uses would not be permissive because of proximity to a house of worship or a religious facility. So that gives us some idea of what would not be able to be
Right.
there. I would question whether or not for example, a manufactured home model center may not be appropriate for that site because of the size of it. So there are obviously commercial constraints and economic constraints on a site. But so I think what you're saying, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying, this is intended primarily for general office use.
Correct, yeah. A small office use, and I know there may be concerns about development of the rest of the land. There is a pipeline that runs across a good majority of the acreage, so a lot of that property can't be developed essentially over a pipeline.
Is that water pipeline?
It's a
Or
petroleum
gas?
pipeline.
Petroleum.
The old petroleum one.
Okay.
Okay. So now I will give affected parties the opportunity to speak. So if you could identify yourself, so if you would like to speak as an affected party, please just raise your hand and we'll give you those opportunities to speak. Yes, ma'am.
Do I need to sit up there?
No, you can.
Okay.
You can.
I'm just like
No,
making sure
we'll
I'm
get
doing it
the
right.
procedure down. No, you can stay in the audience, but just identify yourself first, please.
I'm Carrie Lynch. I own a home at 5 Pinto Road. It abuts, well, no, it doesn't. It is across the street of Pinto from this, north of it. One question I have for whoever posted the sign was, we never saw it because, was there one out by the road?
That's not part of the property, no ma'am.
No, but how would we ever see that?
Well, I know that's problematic, but it does meet statutory requirement.
Oh, it
And
does?
you were noticed. I mean, you're here in the meeting. You did receive the letter,
Right,
so
right,
you were noticed of the meeting.
right. No, I
Right.
just didn't know
And
what all that was.
And I understand it was problematic for me as well because if you don't know where it is, you don't know where it is.
Right, right.
So
So one of our concerns and factual things are that this property being changed to C2 from SU, they say that, from what I understand, is it originally was C2?
that I don't have direct knowledge.
That's what I was told by the prior zoning manager.
Okay, because I was not aware of that. My concern is them coming in with the property that's directly across the street that does adjacent to this, which is the one that's north of where the Independent was, that they're gonna be able to get C2 there as well. I just think there should be, if it's gonna be offices and stuff, I would rather see a lower grade of usage other than C2 maybe. maybe C1, maybe, I don't know what's less than that, or where you could go. I mean, can you, I don't even know if you can make a choice to say, he buys the property and he says, I will never put a gas station, the covenants, will put in the covenants, no gas stations, no convenience stores. I'm worried about the light and the impact to the traffic. Because if you notice on 344, when you come over that hill, granted, now that we have 4 lanes and a middle lane, it's much better to turn, but we've had many accidents there. And if you're gonna put in more traffic, which is gonna happen, we need to do some ideas of how we can make sure that we're not impacted in getting in and out of Pinto, because there's no visibility over it. I mean, right now, with the school there, is already very dangerous. So we're concerned about that. The light of it all coming, we lost a lot of light with Walmart coming in. We got a lot of light. We lost a lot of darkness that we enjoyed when we moved out here. So very concerning about the lighting of it and how it could be, set up that there are new types of lighting that they have now that isn't so effective to, being bright to the people around them. It gives the light they need for the parking lot. The other thing is, we drove through Rocky Road tonight before we came, the parking lot. I'm assuming that they will build that, if they do this, they will build that road up to specifications. Is that true?
The road has never been requested by the town to be accepted for town maintenance. So the road standard, it's a private road.
Okay.
So the road standard is not the same standard that we have for town roads. So I can't tell you what they would or would not do there. It's a very unique situation. I do understand that. I do want to address the light issue, because I'll ask the applicant, I assume you will comply with state law regarding night sky ordinance. That's state law, and so that's kind of code at this point.
Okay, didn't know that.
And so we will make sure, and we do
That they
make
apply,
sure
yeah,
that they have to meet they're going to have to meet all state codes for any changes to lighting or any increase as far as trying to light the parking lot area. But so there is a night sky code. We do have lights have to turn off at a certain time at night. And so those are statutory requirements that would have to be met by any business that goes in there.
So one more question I would have is it factual, a true fact that if it was C2 before and it goes that 90 days without being used, that it would revert back to C2?
No, that was in a prior ordinance. That was the case. That is not true under our current ordinance. I will advise you that a zoning designation is considered a vested right to a property owner, and you cannot downgrade a zone. You can laterally or upgrade, or he can voluntarily ask to downgrade a zone, but it is not within the purview of this body to insist or demand a downgrade zone. That would be an illegal taking.
So going from SU to C2, it looks like you're downgrading.
Not necessarily.
Right, exactly.
It's not, and it's what he's requesting. So we are not imposing, it's requested by the owner. And that's their right to do that.
Okay.
I do want to, well, go ahead.
No,
Any
go
other
ahead.
questions?
I think, do you have anything else?
Any other?
You did pretty good.
I can talk.
Any other questions? Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Reverend Lancaster. I'm pastor of the church just to the south of that property.
Correct.
And we purchased the what we call Parish Hall, the building immediately south of that building. And the Rocky Road itself is a common use road. It's between the church and and our church. And it's a bottleneck right between, if you look at the two buildings, it comes we had to get a special waiver in order to have that. And so it can't handle heavy traffic. Not only that, but the 6 or 8 bumpers that are to the north of the building, the parish hall building, those belong to the church. They don't belong to the property that's being considered there. Also, we have children, and we have classes, and we have a food pantry where a big truck pulls up and unloads the food in that area, kind of just south of their building. And we unload the food and we give it out to the people. We do that once a month, and that's something that it's a community service that we'd like to continue to do. And also we want to be careful about the children that we have. We have classes there and classes in the evening and C2 just seems like an awful broad shotgun approach for commercial. I mean, yes, it's nice that he wants to do an office, but what if it's sold again? Then it could be anything.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think those are legitimate concerns. I think from staff perspective, I think the access is problematic. I don't know if there's a solution to that. There may be some alternatives. But again, I hear what you're saying. Okay. Does anybody else
I just want to ask, can I ask a question?
You can ask
about
one
that?
clarifying question.
So
yes.
one clarifying question is, the building that the church bought was part of the old Christian church?
Right.
And so when they built that, was there an easement setback from that Rocky Road, if Rocky Road was there? I mean, it's pretty darn close.
So Rocky Road is part of the property at common use.
Okay. So it's a road easement.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a real road,
I was gonna say,
but,
we didn't pull onto a real road.
Depends on
We went to a parking lot.
right.
You can define road different ways, and there are different land use descriptives of roads, and there's some current thinking about how roads, and I can't remember the actual term, but this type of road is more common in other jurisdictions, so it's not unheard of. So,
I have a question for Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to the current setup of the building, how many office or classrooms are in there presently?
There's 5.
There are 5?
Yes, ma'am, and I have a floor plan in the packet as well.
Okay. Do you have any plans to create more out of the 5, breaking it up, making more, let's say, business opportunities or suite opportunities in the building?
No, because they're just a little over 600 square feet each. It wouldn't make sense to expand to make more. It may make sense to combine a couple for a business, but not to go down to more.
Okay, so, let's see. You mentioned a daycare has interest.
Yes, ma'am.
So that would be in an existing size of a classroom? Is that what they're looking at? Or are they looking to expand into a larger area so they can carry more?
So I really don't have a whole lot of detail on. I haven't looked at the actual offer on it. It was from the seller, passed it on to me that there may be interest in it.
Okay,
Correct.
that's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
So the only other thing I would offer is there is a zoning designation that the town has that's called RS, which is residential and services. And under the RS service zones, what you talked about doing would be permissive. What's permissive under RS are personal services such as beauty and barbershops, photography, educational facilities, not including child care centers, small appliance repair, but day nurseries and nursery schools are permissive. Institutions of an educational, religious, charitable, or philanthropic nature, and offices wherein only professional, administrative, clerical, or sales services are conducted. So, and then private clubs, lodges, or fraternal organizations. It is I'm not telling you what you should do, but what I'm saying is that's a if the concern is, from a commission perspective, that what a future potential owner may do, if, and this is your prerogative, I'm not gonna, I'm just pointing out that that is an option. So that is something that could be considered, where you would be able to put in an office, a child care center, but you would be limited from some of the other uses that are under C2. But again, I'm just, it's informational. Yes.
So I just want, can I address him?
We will get to, yeah, we'll do cross-examination at this point. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to cross-examine. Do you have any questions that you have for any of the parties that testify?
Sure. Yeah,
Well, I
so-
think she wanted to testify still, so,
That's fine.
okay.
Your concern is something larger going in down the road, or something, you know, that's going to attract more traffic. I mean, have you seen that happen since the independent went from SU to C2? Has there been an increase in traffic, or?
Well, the independent wasn't a retail space. You know, nobody went to the independent to do anything. So
Well,
we
there's
weren't-
little offices.
you know,
Yeah, it's C2 office retail space currently.
The independent itself didn't attract traffic off the street. You didn't go to the, you know, it had been a library. Well, prior to that, it was what, Jazzercise?
Mhm.
And then it was library. And then it, at some point, became the independent, but the independent was a newspaper.
Right.
It didn't
Well, but it's got a
have-
barber shop
Well,
and,
yeah,
but there's
yeah,
still
those-
one or
but
two
they're-
people at one
yeah, I
time.
mean, how many people, you know, I mean, and they're very small spaces. There's a fiber store in there, there's a tax preparer time to time, and then there's a little barber shop. And so they don't attract much traffic themselves.
And that's,
But the independent itself, you know, that was a separate, I mean, it's in the same building, you know, I mean, they're attached, but the independent didn't, you don't go to a newspaper to shop.
Okay.
So,
So-
I mean, that's not a,
Sure. And so essentially, you know, these office suites would essentially be the same size as the office suites that are there at the independent currently. That's why it seemed to make sense to follow the same zoning as what they have there.
so
well, you know.
this man here
So,
point.
I'm
oh,
sorry. This is your turn to do
Oh.
cross-examination. Did you want to address any of the other?
Was that a concern that you had? Well, I didn't really understand the concern with. Were you worried that something may impact the food delivery on the?
Well, it's a big long truck and it's a small space. Now, it goes through that bottleneck there and it pulls in. We just don't want to, see, the church owns those bumpers that are south of the building that you're looking at and north of our building. And so we use that to back up and deliver food, and it takes a while. It's a big, long.
Yeah, no, I've seen
It's a
it there.
Roadrunner truck, and we just don't want any, like, vehicles. I don't know if I guess I don't know how much room there is I haven't been there when the truck came, but it seems to me like a tight space. I just wouldn't want to upend that,
Yeah.
or upend, you know, have a problem for anybody.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Are you?
Yeah, I'm-
Okay.
I'm-
Now you have the opportunity to cross-examine the applicant. If any.
So my question to you is, since he brought it up, this notice that says it has 8 parking spaces and 1 handicap is not necessarily true? Is that, I mean, since he owns them?
Those are, so there are 8
They're all
parking
over the
spaces,
building,
but
right?
further south, they have parking spaces.
But so those are, you do have your parking spaces?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
But the only parking spaces for that building that you're looking at is immediately parallel to the building.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, but and how many spaces are there? 8?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other spaces would go in just to the west
West.
of the building.
How many more? So there's only
let's see,
8
I have it in
parking
here.
spaces.
There'd be 19 total.
And it would be L-shaped kind of around the building.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you wish to cross-examine?
I have a question. I mean, theoretically, it's possible to access that building from Woodline Drive.
Woods End, you mean?
Wood, Woodline. No, yeah, well, you go down to Woods End and then you go north on Woodline
Oh, okay.
and then come in from that. So there's a lot of property there.
That's where I thought they were.
I think that's private. I mean, we'd have to get an easement from someone to come in from that side, I believe.
I don't see how that differs from Rocky Road.
Rocky Road's already,
Right,
is
it's
already
Rocky Road,
established.
the owner of the Rocky Road is the applicant.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Sanchez is representing the applicant.
All right.
So,
I mean, as I say, it just seems like there are too many possibilities with C2. If there was something more refined, so that we could be sure that it's going to stay an office space, or something not so
Open.
possibility.
Heavy duty.
Yeah, heavy duty kind of.
okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Commissioners, do you have any further questions?
Just, may I have your name?
My name is Colleen Haskell.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so are you ready for, so from the commission's perspective, you have three options here. You can make a recommendation to the council to approve the zone change. You can make a recommendation to not approve the zone change, or you can make a determination not to make a recommendation. You can say, no, we're saying we are not making a recommendation on this matter. So, because ultimately the decision-making by statute is with the governing body on the zone change. They want to hear from the community and have this opportunity. And if there is and if you want to compromise your application, that's your prerogative at any time if you want to do that. You cannot advise him that he should do that. We just make him aware that is a available request.
So, Brad, who's the governing body? If they choose to table it or whatever.
They don't table it. They just choose to not make a recommendation.
So who decides in the
The
final?
governing commission.
And who is that?
Those are your elected commissioners. There's 5 elected commissioners. That is the governing body for the town of Edgewood.
Oh, okay.
Could I ask one more question? Is there a zone that you looked through that you would be satisfied with both of you?
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the zoning.
Yeah, I just got them tonight, so.
Again, just from our perspective, I think in RS residential services, again, that's really designed for small businesses that are in a more residential setting. And it is, I think what you can look at it and make a decision.
Could I take a look at that? Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds much reasonable.
Okay. Is issue 1 for office, I've heard? Is that
I'm sorry?
issue 1 for office? Is that a zoning possibility that not as heavy as C2? Issue 1 for office?
I don't know I'm not familiar with issue 1 for office. So,
Okay.
sorry. It's not a zoning designation that we have.
I don't know that this would apply because the building's larger than 3,000 square feet. And it went, and it says 6,000 square feet for, well, I guess multi-purpose.
You would, yeah.
Okay.
How many square feet is the current building that's there?
4,500 square feet.
So multi-purpose, it would fall in that.
And so if you would basically have to have more than one office
Right.
business there.
Well, that wouldn't allow for the daycare, would it?
No.
Day nurseries and nursery
Yeah, so
schools.
it's not defined, so I think that's I assume day nursery means children younger than a big, I don't know.
And it
doesn't
still has.
It doesn't make,
It
it's
does
kind
not
of
clear-
contradictory.
It doesn't
Yeah.
give you a
Yeah.
clear definition between
Yeah.
daycare and day nursery in the ordinance.
I would say a day nursery is daycare. It's just when it was done, my opinion.
Party.
And you don't have to make a decision at this time. If you would like to postpone, or if you
Section
want us to move forward, we can.
provision, but they are in.
I mean, I'd like to make a compromise. I don't want anyone to have any fears going forward.
I have one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The approximate number of people at any one time, you estimated to be about 15, correct?
I would think so, yeah.
Do you know what the occupancy level of the building is, roughly?
I don't know.
So the occupancy level is a function of the fire marshal, and so we don't have the competency to make that determination as the town. But it's based on certain factors such as, what is the construction methodology of the building? Is it sprinkled? There's all kinds of things that can have an effect on that, and also what the use is.
And your hours, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. would be a rough estimate of, depending on what businesses are in there?
Right, probably earlier than 9, but I put that out there just in case, I think the only thing on the C2 that gets there is the child care center,
And Mr. Sanchez, if you would like to withdraw your application for a decision tonight, you and I can sit down and discuss what would be permissive in more detail. But that's up to you. I mean, it is your right to ask the commission to proceed. Okay.
I think I would like to ask the commission to proceed.
It's fine.
We're on 4 months on this now.
Okay.
And I don't know how much longer we could keep extending on our contract.
Okay, I understand. So, commission, it's up to you to make a determination at this point. I can't guide you. You are the decision-making, or you are the recommending body, but it's your decision to make. I can give you a staff overview if you'd like, I think from my perspective.
yeah.
I think the concerns regarding the vast array of potential uses, permissive uses under C2 could be problematic for a site like this. I am concerned about access. I think that RS would be a more appropriate zone, and I would be probably encouraging that. But again, it's just a unique property, and it should be put to good, productive use. And I think if the current owner has a desire to remove it from being utilized as part of the church facility, they certainly, it's to their benefit to be able to do that. But it should be done in a way that, and you're going to find in most decisions that you make regarding both subdivisions and zoning, the objective stuff, which I can tell you that, yes, they do have a deed, they do own the property, it is zoned as they indicate, so all of those factual statements we can objectively say are true. The subjective thing that you always have to look at is, does this fit within the existing neighborhood? Is it compatible with the neighboring properties? In other words, you would not put a 10-story building there. It would not be compatible with the neighborhood. So that's the dilemma you have, that's the subjective kind of decision that you have to make in these matters. I think there are certain issues that could be problematic. But again, I think there's definite beneficial community benefit to allowing this property to be used in a productive manner.
I definitely understand the concern that C2 may bring. It is broader than the RS. I understand that you have been 4 months in this process through no fault of your own. It's just the delays that took place during that time. I understand the concern of the neighbors because of the traffic and the concern of the church. Because it's a condensed area, and you only have a very limited access in and out of there. With not knowing all of the businesses that would be going into a C2, it does leave the possibility of different businesses going into a C2 that the neighbors might be concerned about. I would probably not want to defer it.
Could I make a
because it's 4
statement, or-
months.
I think we've started deliberations.
I think we started,
at
yeah,
this
I
point,
would like to
so-
begin deliberations,
Okay.
yeah. I would not want to defer this because it has been going on for quite some time. And we've seen, delays and things like that, it has, some negative impacts to the community and the economy here. So, I would suggest that we not defer the decision.
Agreed.
Based on the concerns of the neighbors, and looking at some of the other options that could possibly be looked at, and our next meeting is in April, which is next month. I would say making a motion to decline the C2 so that maybe they could revisit what other options of zoning.
Making the motion?
Your options are to either accept
Or-
the applicant's request, deny the request,
Deny the
or
request.
decide to make no recommendation. And making
Just
no
out here, if we make
recommendation
no
is not really
recommendation, it
deferring.
moves-
What's that doing? 'Cause
it
this
moves
has
on.
to
Sends
go-
it to the next.
This has to go to the governing body.
Right.
And it just indicates to them that you've heard the matter and you don't have a recommendation. Is that, I mean, I know this is tough, but I tell you, I don't know
I don't.
if your first decision needs to be no
Yeah.
recommendation.
No.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No, I would prefer not to, and for all parties
Right.
concerned,
Right.
not to defer it.
Yeah, and I can, if you choose to deny the applicant's request, it does not preclude that party from modifying the application and coming back. And I believe you've come before the body before, is that correct?
It's not. No.
Oh, you have not, okay.
Oh, okay.
This request has come before, I mean, I found a minutes from a previous Planning and Zoning Commission where this particular request came forward. And it was recommended for approval to the governing body, but it was never heard. So,
Okay.
but there were a lot of issues at that time as well. So, yeah, and those have not been cured, so to speak. So,
Do you have a thought on?
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think there are a lot of issues it presents on both sides, and pushing it down the road's not gonna do any good.
So what you might want to do is just make a recommendation to, if, what I'm hearing, you can make a recommendation to not approve as submitted. And that gives you a little bit of room for possibly correcting. And I don't know what, it's a business issue. I understand that's an economic decision that you have to make. So,
I think based on the concerns, and I think, looking at the two various types of zoning, I would make a motion that we deny, or what did you say?
make a recommendation
Conditional.
to the governing body
Right,
to deny the application.
yes.
And is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
Aye.
You have to call for the
Oh,
vote.
call for the vote. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So, Mr. Sanchez, thank you so much. If you'd like to pursue other options, we're always open to that. So, and you do understand this is a recommendation to the governing body.
Yeah.
So if you choose to ask that this be put on the agenda for the governing body, you can come in and make your presentation to them. They will make that final decision.
Sure.
Okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to come in and meet with me. I can discuss what your options are.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
So do they take that, so the motion there goes to the governing body and then they make the final decision?
That is correct.
So will they know all of what we all said?
So here's the question, okay? So if you choose to take it to the governing body, and I don't know if I'm not gonna ask you to make that decision right now. But if you choose to actually go ahead and take it to the governing body, that's your choice. And if you do take it to the governing body, you will be noticed again.
Okay.
And you will be asked to provide your input again, because that will also be a quasi-judicial proceeding.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what I didn't understand. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for us.
Is anybody here representing Mr. Scribner?
Who's Scribner? Is that the next one?
That's the next item.
Oh, yeah.
Is anybody here wishing to testify on the Scribner matter?
I live my name's Linda McKetty. I live in the subdivision that's adjacent to across 66.
Yes.
And we saw the sign and we wanted to just come and find out what it's about.
Okay.
We have no idea what's going in there or what
Sure.
it means to go from.
I understand.
They want to do the opposite.
No, so you're an affected party, that's what I just,
Okay,
and
yeah,
we'll
and
get
she
into.
actually got a certified letter, my neighbor.
Okay, did you get a?
I did not,
Okay.
because I'm across the street from her.
Okay, so you can hear the matter, but
But I-
you
okay.
cannot testify.
Okay, so.
Are you, so you got the letter, is that correct?
They go to my mom and dad, and they've been dead for over 9 years.
Okay, so you got the letter. Okay, you own the property at this time.
Well, and my brother and me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You are an affected party. Okay. All right, so we'll go into this matter. You do understand the applicant does not have to be present for the matter to be heard. So I will present it not as the applicant. I will present it as what I understand that the applicant intends to do. Obviously, I cannot answer any detailed questions. But I will tell you, this is a property that's located on Old Highway 66. It is zoned C2. The applicant owns the property to the west, which is an operating C2 business, and he owns 3 lots to the east. I did receive a call from the adjacent commercial property to the east, and he did not have any objections to the zone change. What the party intends to do is, it's a vacant lot. The intent is to put storage units on that property, and you will see in the application a diagram of the what the storage facility would look like. It's not a huge facility, but it is from what I was told by the applicant, that it meets industry standards as to design. You probably know, and I have to be
And I will
careful.
recuse
I
myself.
understand that you would recuse yourself. So I, again, from conversations and concerns that staff had with the proposal, the intent is that the gate would be set back at least 60 feet from Route 66, so there would not be any restrictions of trailers pulling off of Route 66 and impeding traffic. The owner is an experienced developer, contractor. Obviously, again, I can't answer any questions. This is the sign to indicate that it was put up on the property. It was properly noticed. I did receive indication that all parties received the letter. So I think from a staff standpoint, the applicant does own the property. The applicant is filled out correctly. Fees were paid. It is an appropriate request from C2. In this case, it's the reverse of what you just saw. This is a request from C2 to SU. And so that is the
Can I ask a question?
yes, ma'am.
How many stores are you gonna put in there? Are you gonna put a whole gobble of them in? Oh, a few.
Well, there is in the application, there is I don't know, have you seen the application?
No,
Okay.
I ain't seen nothing.
All right, let me show you, and then you can make a determination. I can't tell you whether it's a whole gob or an appropriate gob. This is what they're intending to do on this lot.
That's a good, that's a gob. That's quite a few.
It's kind of like this is the old school.
Yeah, it's not as that one's a little more. It's not quite. This is a more defined layout. Obviously.
Right, and yeah, 'cause
I just don't want to buy my I-40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see I-40 so I can see somebody get a call back. And stay off the freeway.
Do you have any other comments? So basically, you said you just don't want. What is it that you don't want?
Well, see, I live, my house, I can see I-40 and 066.
Right.
And when the freeway is blocked, everybody moving on 066. And I can tell when somebody had a call back somewhere.
So you're saying that there are times when there's a lot of traffic on 66?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not going to state whether this will increase traffic on 66. I can't speak to
It
that.
does get busy on that highway.
Yeah, you can get, sure, it's a state highway.
State highway.
Yeah.
This would be one story.
And what is your name, ma'am?
But Debbie
Debbie
Parker.
Parker. Thank you.
I think it's one story.
We're talking about governments, or we talking about 2 or 3 of them going on top of each
No,
other?
there'll just be one story.
Let's go. Now I have 2 fences there.
Yeah,
I have two gates.
yeah, and this is going to be on the very west end of the
Far end.
west end, yeah.
Oh, that'd be my Tuesday, I-40.
Okay. Yeah, I can't allow you to testify because you're not an
She tell me
expert.
then.
Okay. I can only answer questions from direct, what has been conveyed to me.
Am I reading correct that, is it the 3 lots equals 2.162 acres? Or is it?
No, I believe the subject lot is 2.6.
2 lots.
Yeah, it's hard to read. Each of these lots are
2.16 there.
approximately 2 acres.
Okay.
So they would be, but
Can we get a copy of that plan?
Yes.
Am I,
From here and all the way back there. 'Cause
Well, you gonna make copy?
Yes.
am
Oh,
I,
you're a good kid.
am I reading correctly that the size limit is not to exceed 2
no, here
acres
we go.
within self-storage? Oh, is that just mini warehouses or?
Yeah, they're mini warehouses.
So
They're storage units is what they are.
the site shall not exceed 2 acres in size? Is that,
For SU?
yeah, for SU, under the SU?
Under SU?
Yeah.
For storage units?
It's,
Where are you at?
I'm
So I-
at, I'm at page 46.
Okay.
Oh, 46.
What's that simple code
Number,
again?
oh, number 6, okay. Provided that.
And what section are you under?
6,
Uh,
so it goes on to 47 as well.
that.
Yeah, the site shall not exceed 2 acres in size, yeah. And this is.
I mean, I don't mean to nitpick.
No, I understand.
Like point
Well,
one.
yeah, we have to follow.
What site
here.
you are?
162.
Yeah, we have to follow here.
Yeah.
So he did indicate that there would be setbacks from 60, because there's a highway easement that goes through
Okay.
there. So I think the property may be larger than that, the actual
The site
site
itself.
itself would not exceed that.
That requirement.
Okay.
Is this what you gave? Okay. Do you have another copy?
This one, it might find that, might be those.
Isn't there a copy of one?
But it's here.
Next one.
Have it in the book.
What is going into the other two?
I'm sorry?
What is going into the other two?
They're vacant lots. There's no request on those.
Oh, okay.
So the zone changes just for that.
Just for that piece.
plat, even
That is
if-
correct.
Because they own the other two.
They own the other two, but they're not requesting.
They're not requesting. So those two
zone
would
change.
remain C2.
Those would remain
unless they
C2. Yes,
request.
unless they come in and request that separately.
The only thing that I saw under the SU was that their submission didn't, it says under section B, under SU on page 44, the plan requirement, each application for a special use zone must declare the proposed use. Does that have to be in writing? Or can that be
They are declaring the proposed use as being
that-
storage units.
just verbal? Okay, okay.
I mean, that's what they're actually, they actually have documentation in the
Oh, okay.
application.
Okay.
That's what they're doing.
Okay.
Oh, they don't have.
Oh, there's where it is. Okay. I was looking for it, couldn't find it.
It's hidden in the subject line. of the email.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can be a little bit more, and this is good feedback for me, because I can bring you better packets going forward.
Okay,
so.
yeah, because I had looked through the packet,
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but it is obviously a.
Commissioner Seegers?
Well, where do you suppose the planned access will be? Through there, and how far is it from any other intersection on 266?
His business is, he has a business just to the west. He does have current and existing state access.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has been already approved and it's grandfathered in from an old request to DOT, but he does have DOT access.
Okay, and he's not planning to have another access?
No, I believe that, and again, I'm not gonna speak for him, so I don't wanna, but obviously any other access that he gets is subject to DOT approval.
Since he's on the state road
Right.
itself.
And DOT can be quite a stickler on that, obviously, that's what they look at is how, they've extended it, you probably know this better than anybody in the room, they've extended that spacing, but he has indicated affirmatively that he does have DOT access there granted.
Okay.
So I think he would use that access for the other lot if something was to go into that lot.
Now, should we make any comments on how how we view this application as an individual, you know?
As a commissioner,
Yeah, as a commissioner,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because it looks like a very good use of some of the space that we have sitting vacant along that stretch. And it looks like a legitimate business that has not proven to be much of a problem for us in the past. And so I'd look favorably on that zone change because that looks like a very sensible utilization of that property.
How much weight are you putting in with this build up? I don't know.
we're in deliberation now. If you have any questions, maybe after we can answer those.
Oh, okay.
The zoning is not the development, just so you understand. So the zone change is a first step in the process. The actual development review of what the actual development is going to look like comes later.
Oh.
So
I don't know what's going on.
we can impose restrictions at the development review stage if we feel that there are concerns there. So we are just
And
looking at this.
there are also pretty stringent guidelines on how they're built and height
Well,
limits.
yeah,
I mean,
the height is designated in the zoning, but as far as the construction of the units themselves, that is under state purview, and that would be under Construction Industries Division. They would have to meet those standards of the state building code and the state fire marshal, or the county fire marshal, I'm sorry.
So without knowing for sure, I mean, the map here shows the road coming from the west into the actual units.
Coming from the east. East into,
Oh, sorry, I had it turned
So,
the wrong. I had it turned the wrong way.
okay.
Yeah, no.
Just to point out, just for informationally, I don't know if you know where this is, but it is right here. Okay, it's right here, actually.
Yeah. I had it turned around.
Okay, so this is 66, so it's almost to the county line.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is that one.
But that road's already to his other business, or
Route 60.
he's already got.
Oh,
he's
Highway
already got all that
66,
taken
he has
care
the business to the west. He has a business. He has what's called a construction co-op.
of. Okay. I mean, I totally agree. It's if that's the intended use of the land, then I don't see any issue.
I don't either. I can make a motion to.
Yeah. so I was thinking
Okay, I'll make
more.
a motion to approve for the zone change for the applicant Robert Scribner for a C1 to an SU.
Right. You'll call for a second?
I'll call any second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion is adopted. Thank you. And again, this will be a recommendation to the governing body.
Yeah.
So, and I did kind of, we have leeway as to when we do a recommendation meeting, whether that is quasi judicial or not. I wanted to give you an exposure to quasi judicial, and I think that was appropriate for this. But I will tell you that in the future, where we're making recommendation decisions, those can be done based just on public hearing rather than quasi judicial matters. Those where you are a decision-making body have to be quasi judicial. But we do have an option on the others, just so you know. Any questions? Great job, guys. I know this was, you'll get better at this, and we'll all get better at it. I did this a long time, and they're never easy. It's never easy to tell somebody no, but it's your job. And as you get more familiar with the ordinance, I think you're going to find yourself more comfortable with asking for recommendations to compromise or to look at other options. And I think that's that's always appropriate. So,
Okay.
having said that, we will get the judge here next time, hopefully. I don't know where he ended up, but we'll get your certificates to you as soon as we can, get you sworn in.
Do we want to open for public comment?
Do we have, I don't think we have a public comment on the agenda. We do
We
have
do,
a public
we
comment,
do.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just call for public comment.
Anyone from the public have comments?
Not yet.
I just had a question about if y'all are considering your part in the cannabis, as far as zoning and.
The commission is not, and part of it is timing. You weren't at the meeting. You were at the meeting last night, weren't you?
No.
No, you were not. Okay. There was a workshop last night, and I gave extensive input
Okay.
to the commission on the zoning aspect and the business license aspect.
Okay.
It was not my purview to make discussions regarding
No.
for or against and anything like that, but there were concerns.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There were some concerns that I expressed that were unique to our zoning ordinance that could create problems. One of which is what you had emailed regarding religious institutions, and so I think that was part of the concern that I it wasn't a concern. I just indicated to them that would be an option that might be considered.
Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
The other thing that was concerning to me is that they were indicating that production, which is the growing of product, could be done on agricultural property. There's a unique part of our ordinance that would then allow a roadside stand. And we felt that may be something they want to consider. It would put Edgewood on the map if we had a roadside stand, but I don't know if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Could I?
Yeah, and it is on the website. Ralph, thank you, Courtney. If you want to hear the meeting,
Oh, okay.
the commission is under, I'm not going to say pressure, but they are determined to have the ordinance in place by the April 1st deadline.
Right.
I think what we heard last night was good. I think we will have as good an ordinance that fits our community as we can, with the understanding if there's issues going forward, we can always change the ordinance.
You'll be involved with people coming through too.
Yes, there will be both a zoning requirement that they have to meet, and there is also going to be a rather extensive business license that they have to comply with.
Construction of greenhouses, like you said, fall under your.
If they do, yeah, and then, quite honestly, the only place that could be done is on agricultural zoned property. It's broken down between production, which is the growing of the product, manufacturing, which is the processing, packaging, and extraction of processing, and that can only be done in an M1 zone, which we currently do not have an M1 zone in Edgewood. And then the sales can only occur in a retail C2. And there are spacing requirements, so it's trying to find the balance between what we don't want is a corridor, so there's separation requirements, but we do have to allow for any legal business, and it is a legal business after July 1st. So it is currently a legal business for medical dispensary. It will be a legal business for adult use after July 1st.
I find out when I'll be building this
I think he's talking about last year.
I can't speak to that. We are not building it. It's
Yeah, I think
Okay.
July of last year was passed.
Can I further answer his question,
you were there.
not as a commissioner or a counselor here, but since I was at the meeting, right?
We need to adjourn.
Okay, and
Yeah.
one of the things that was brought up.
we're at public comment right now.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so one of the things that was brought up, and I think there was consensus, but we'll have to see how this next draft comes out, okay? That will be the one at a real public hearing, okay? But is that I think it's a consensus, like I say, but it appeared that most people felt that we would not allow on-site consumption. And that's a big deal, okay? So if it's, depending on how it turns out, when it comes out, I've got, I'm not issuing an opinion here, I'm just informing you that came up. I thought that might be something that the church would be concerned about.
I think the three things that really concern me are the protection from the children aspect, keeping them from, getting around the smoke and everything.
First of all, the product has to be within the building, has to be sold in the building. There was discussion about curbside pickup for customers.
300 people.
No resident or consumer under the age of 21 would be allowed in any building.
Mm-hmm. And the odor is a big problem.
And the odor is addressed in the...
Yeah, I had that vape shop, they were leasing from me, and I had all kinds of problems with the business next door, just getting the
I understand.
odors.
It's addressed in the ordinance, and that's going to be part of the job of the planning and, in conjunction. So I will be in creating a TAC committee, a technical advisory committee, with the police department and with the fire department and with the construction industry division and with the environmental improvement division. So
Water consumption.
water is part of the ID.
So, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So any other public comments?
Oh, one thing I noticed is we have the same problem with Parks and Recreation is the meeting tonight wasn't on the agenda, the town agenda.
It was.
I just looked it up on my,
I was told that it was on our
I
website.
just looked and I didn't see it.
I was told that it was. I'm sorry.
It should be under planning and zoning.
I looked and I didn't see
No?
it.
Oh, okay. I was told that it was, so I sent it to the person who was
Maybe
supposed
my
to.
phone's up.
I will make sure. Yeah, we'll make sure.
Yeah.
And again, because this is an advisory meeting tonight, I understand. We still we'll make sure that happens going forward.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, as a matter of housekeeping, can I expect, as a counselor here, or whatever I am, Commissioner, okay, can I expect that these packets will be available prior to the meeting?
They were emailed to you.
Yeah.
I sent.
I looked on the town website, that's where
Okay, I did
looked at this.
email them to, and I had the wrong email for
I got it.
yeah, I had the wrong
That's
email
all right.
for
That's all right.
for Cheryl. So you should have gotten it, Commissioner. If you did not, let's check your email to make sure it's correct. But so it was specifically emailed. Did you get it?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I might have been looking in the wrong place.
Okay.
I
It
didn't see
actually
I
said
didn't see the packet on the town's
March
website
8th.
either.
So it wasn't updated. So it said March 8th on here, but the update for the 10th was not on
Right.
here.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I'll make sure. And again, we have a contract person who does that. I'll talk to her and make sure that because I was told that it was on there. I didn't look for it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else from
So
the,
just from the agenda, there's also matters from the chair and commission members. So if I have nothing else, if you have anything you want to comment about, you made your comments. I appreciate that. So I think I did that. The next P&Z meeting is scheduled for April 14th. We do have a subdivision request for that meeting. That's the only item, and we are the decision-making body for subdivisions. It's interesting how the ordinance for that has changed, and there's some concerns there, but this is not a difficult one, so it should be relatively easy.
I do have one thing. We had discussed earlier in our original training meeting about possibly meeting on a Tuesday night. Did you have a preference? I mean, this is,
Yes,
it's
this
going
is
to
your
kind
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm okay
so-
with Tuesday night. Yeah,
Doesn't matter to me.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, the only thing on Tuesdays is that's when commission meetings are held, so we have to make sure
Oh, they're not.
that
That's
we
what-
don't
and they're not
conflict
on
with them.
Wednesdays anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, and they meet every other, so we have to meet in that,
In the others.
in those other
So they're-
slots.
they're
And sometimes
typically
they'll hold
first and the-
special.
and the
So as
third.
long as you celebrate my birthday that night, I'll be okay.
Okay.
On my birthday.
Okay, so the next meeting, are you okay with the 14th? Because I do have to notice for that meeting, and it's out there a ways. I will advise you that on April 13th, the governing commission will be hearing an appeal from the previous planning and zoning commission of an approval of a adjustment to the master plan by Campbell Corporation, and that was approved. It was appealed by affected parties to the governing body, and that will be heard as a special meeting on the 13th. I would advise you, if you can attend that, I think it will be you will see how the attorneys control the meeting in that quasi-judicial process. And I think it'll be very educational and also give you an insight into that particular development and the impact that has on the community. Okay. So I will.
Do we have ordinance changes?
Oh, I do want to speak to that. Yeah, we will be. We do need to look at ordinances. There are conflicts internal in the ordinance that should at the very minimum be corrected. There are procedures in the ordinance that probably need to be reviewed. There are actual substantive aspects of subdivision and zoning particularly that I think we need to look at. Again, when you look at what your options are, sometimes more options are better, sometimes fewer options are better. But I think that is your obligation, and part of your duties are to review those ordinances and make recommendations for changes to make them more functional for what you're seeing coming from the public and from the business community. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay.
You could call for a motion to adjourn.
Would anybody like to?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
And I'll second.
If you have a motion and a second, that's all you need.
That's all we don't need to
Adjourn.
vote.
All in favor? Aye.
You don't even have to vote, but that's okay.
No, we don't.
No,
Oh, well,
that's what I'm saying. You got a
okay.
motion and a second, you
Okay.
can, as chair, you can declare adjourned, and there's no objection.
Meeting's adjourned.
And
Do you have objection?
the town, do they begin?
Gotta get used to that.
8 till 5.
A lot of wording.
Usually closed on
The
lunch
way
hour. I mean, the office is open, but I'm usually
Does
not
the
there.
town, the commission meeting 6 or
I'm not there tomorrow afternoon.
No, it won't be. Thank you.
I'm wondering if
Good night.
On
the
town
commission meeting.
Let us know which Tuesday you're meeting,
Three or
because
four
Mark's
of us
right.
there, so
No,
we have.
this is.
Yeah, I know, I think we're.
We-
But theirs is at
We'll make
6:30.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I need.
Just don't sit together.
And don't sign your
Trying to
name,
get a
your name
calendar
below two
together
others.
of
Town
the
website.
computer.
That's
what I looked for too.
Mark.
Well,
Yeah, it's
So,
Yeah, you know,
It
it's,
didn't work out. It's tough,
Is it working out over there?
but
I can teach her. Thank you.
yeah.
It's just that I really
Thank you, guys. Good job.
easy to have that
I was